The second of the three sections in health and self-healing is manifestation. What a lot is said about manifestation. There are books about manifestation. You can get this, you can get that. It's so simple. It's nice if we can illustrate manifestation through example, and I want to do that. I want to give you 2 or 3 examples of manifestation working to boost your faith in the process. My spiritual mentor, Joan, who's now on the higher side of life and has been for many years, was quite poor throughout her life. And she worked from home as a chiropodist to put food on the table. And by the beginning of each week, there was absolutely nothing in her purse, nothing, not a penny. And so every Monday morning, with no prospects and with nobody ringing for appointments, she would kneel on the carpet, put her hands together, close her eyes and say, Father, by the end of this week, I need X. And the X would be a precise amount of pounds, shillings, and pence. And then she would get up, it's done. And then during the week, the phone would ring, people would knock at her door, and by the end of that week, she would have precisely that amount in her purse. Not a penny more, not a penny less. Now, her husband, Jack, was an ill man. He had 3 kidneys, been born with 3 kidneys, and not one of those kidneys worked properly. And he'd suffered from ill health for most of his life, for all of his life. And Joan and Jack had a rickety old car. And Jack was a saint. Whenever anybody wanted to meet a hospital appointment or be taken somewhere specific that was important to them, Jack would be there with that car and he would take them, despite not feeling well himself. And he was a deputy headmaster at a local school. And it was important that he reached his position in the school at a certain time every morning, which sort of would have been very difficult for him on the bus. He needed the car. And they'd had this car repaired and repaired and repaired, and on this certain day, it had given up the ghost. There was nothing more to be done about it. That car was gone. And Jack was despondent. And Joan said, don't worry about it, Jack. Get on the bus today. I've given it to God. And Jack sighed. He said, I know you've got great faith, Joan, but God's not going to provide a car. She said, I've given it to God. That's an end to it. Go to work, sort out your day. It is done. There's nothing more to be said. When Jack came home that evening, Joan said to him, our next door neighbour, I forgot what he was called, I think it was called John, another John, wants to see you, Jack. Can you go in and see him before you have your tea? And Jack sighed, but because he was dutiful, he went in to see the next door neighbour. Now, this particular gentleman was even more sick than Jack. And Jack had been taking him around for years to the hospital and to the doctors and so on. And on this particular evening, he found the neighbour lying on the settee, on the couch. And John said, oh, come in, Jack, come in. I've something to say to you. And he had one of his hands clenched like this. And Jack pulled up a chair, and the neighbour said, hold your hand out, Jack. And he said, what? He said, hold your hand out. And he held his hand out, and the neighbour put his hand over Jack's hand, opened it, and dropped car keys into Jack's hand. And he said, I've come to the conclusion today that I am too sick to be able to use the car any longer. He said, Jack, you've been good to me, and so my car is now your car. And Jack said, I can't take. No, he said, it's your car. Take the keys with my blessing. Now, Joan hadn't told the neighbours about the problems that they'd had with the car. And the very same day, because of her belief in that what she had asked for was hers, it was hers. On the subject of cars, I live on a very busy street. I've been there for 20 years. And it was difficult enough 20 years ago to park the car. Now it's darn near impossible because it's a terraced street and people have moved in, and instead of having one car apiece, they have 3. And they're not small cars. There's a huge van that is from 2 doors up, and that regularly parks outside. And when I used to come to the sanctuary, I'd have a devil of a job finding anywhere to park my car when I got home. And I decided that I needed, if at all possible, a private car parking space. And I went round to some of the neighbours that I knew who had huge driveways. And I've only got a little Fiat 500. I mean, you can pick it up and park it if you want to. And I asked and said, can I park in a corner of your driveway? I won't be there long. I won't be there every day, and I'll pay you rent. No. We came very close with some neighbours, didn't we? And then I think the lady's boyfriend said, no, you're not doing that. And it didn't happen. And I thought, well, I've looked into every area that I can, and it's not happened. So I said, God, I would really like a private car parking space. Thank you very much. It's done. And I forgot about it. And a few weeks later, there was a knock at my door. And there was an older man at the end of the street. Didn't know him well. Certainly hadn't talked to him about anything. And he didn't know the neighbours. And he said, hello. He said, I don't suppose, he said, it's a long shot, but I don't suppose you would be in the market for a private car parking space, would you? I said, come in. Come in. And he'd had a private car parking space for his wife's car. They weren't using it. He'd bought it and he wanted to sell it. And so I snapped it up. But my point is, at the point that I'd left it to God and assumed and affirmed that it was mine, it was mine. And I didn't have to look for it as I'd been looking for it for weeks. It came to me. Manifestation. Now, there are 2 things that we need to bear in mind with manifestation. One is that we can have what we want. We think we can't. We can have, I'll extrapolate on that a little bit further on. We can have whatever we want in the measure that we believe that we can have what we want. Because a lot of people say, well, manifestation doesn't work. How did you do it? Well, I gave it to God, and then I said half an hour later, have you done it yet? And I sort of believed in it, but I didn't totally believe in it. So one of the 2 keys to manifestation is you have to believe that what you want is yours the moment that you've handed it over and asked for it. And the second thing is, and this comes up a lot, I am not worthy of it. I don't deserve this or that. I am not worthy. Well, wait a minute. If all creation is contained within the energies of God, if all creation emanates from God, and you are part of God, how are you any less worthy of anything that you want to manifest than God is? And God doesn't say, I don't think I'm worthy of that. I don't think I need that new car. I don't think I need those finances. Now, that is not to say that there aren't consequences to manifestation. We have to understand, if we want something, then we can have it. But once we have it, it takes one of two routes. It is either a positive addition to our spiritual route and fits in harmoniously with us, or it is something that takes us around a longer path forwards, and we have to deal with the consequences of having manifested it. So we can have whatever we want, but we have to be aware that what we want might present challenges to us. But then again, it might not. It might be fantastic and exactly what we need. But to say we're not worthy is a falsehood. And to say we can't have what we want is a falsehood. We can have what we want in the measure that we believe in it, but then we have to deal with whatever it is that we have sought to manifest. Now, there are 2 very good times to manifest, to activate the process of manifestation. And one is 5 minutes before you go to sleep. You lie there in bed, and the last thought is not, I'm worried about this, or I'm upset about this illness, or how am I going to pay the bills? Instead of all the worries that come to us before we go to sleep, you use that time to say, I am, for example, healthy. I have this in my life. This is repaired. This has appeared. Thank you. And then you go off to sleep. And your subconscious, linked to your greater self, will then work on whatever it is that you've asked for and affirmed that you have, and bring it towards you. And the other time to manifest is whenever you've got a few minutes. Joan, spiritual mentor, used to describe meditation as daydreaming with a positive attitude. What a great way to describe meditation. Daydreaming with a positive attitude. And we daydream all the time, don't we? You know, used to work in an office and I daydreamed for a good few hours every day. So whenever we've got a few stray moments, we can affirm, we can daydream and see what it is that we want to manifest. And we can affirm that it is ours, that it is coming towards us. And in the measure that we see it, you know, if it's an object, we see the color of the object, the form of the object. We imagine ourselves touching the object. The more we can bring it into reality in our minds and our spirits, the quicker it will manifest around us. So, manifestation, the second of 3 keys to health and self-healing.